Tell me what you don't miss about the U.S.
Tips. Cue that scene from Reservoir Dogs. The opinion of Mr. What was his name? Was it Mr. White? The guy who is anti-tip though. My opinion's 100%.
Anti-tips.
Tipping's obnoxious at this point too. Like I hear it's going up and like they're like I'm getting this from friends back home, so you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. Or these are just very cherry-picked examples, but I've heard cases where people go in the cash register is expecting them to tip, and then it puts them at like minimum choice, like 15%, and it's like you have to pay, and you have to pay at least 50% tip. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, those iPad choices are ridiculous because it sometimes starts at like 20%. And then just goes up, and it's like, for what? Like your rude service when I ordered a latte? Like, you're not very friendly. But I think tipping culture is really bad because it's the only payment system that exists that is on the honor system. Like, you're basically requiring the public to like do the right thing for this person's paycheck, and they might not. And so, especially if you work at a slower restaurant or something like that, you get a table of, people with 8 kids and they make a huge mess and you just get nothing. You're making like $2 an hour. Yeah, it's not doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. I used to go to this coffee, like this was like 10 years ago too, when this tipping culture started with like the iPads, and you'd buy like a coffee for $2.25, and it would give you the option for a tip. Like the barista would turn the iPad around, like just subtly, like, hey, make sure to give me more money, like don't forget about that, and then to give you the option of $1, $2, or $3. And I guess like at the time, like I was friends with the barista, so I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll throw you $2 or $33 because I know how hard it is to work here. But like, it's apparently only gotten worse. And I don't know, man. I think it's a little wrong to be giving tips that are more expensive than the thing you're actually buying.
Well, I think, in Austin too, I remember 10 years ago, baristas were so cool. Like you talk about your day and they're real friendly and whatever. And now it's some angry chick with like 20 piercings, and they want like a $2 tip, and they look at you the whole time like they hate you. But I told you before, like my joke about Austin, like if you wanted to get rid of 80% of the most annoying people in the city, just blow up every coffee shop, and the whole city would run smoother. Like you would instantly, like 80% of the most annoying people would be gone.
Yeah. I was kind of a coffee shop fiend when I was younger, so I mean, good thing that I got out of that culture. Do you go to coffee shops?
No, never. I mean, there was like a kind of independently run coffee shop at my college that I went to, and all the most obnoxious people frequented it, so I never went.
By the way, I do go to coffee shops all the time. Just throwing that out there, but also observing reality in the sense that like so many annoying people go there, but they have great food trucks. The coffee is good. I mean, it's good tasting, but it's not the best people.
We went to a coffee shop today.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But this is Japan, so like, of course it is. Like,
yeah, we're talking about America right now.
Yeah.
So what nice things about Japan have you noticed? Anything?
Oh, I mean, well, I guess there's the cliche things that everyone points out. Obviously, it's super clean, it's super safe. A lot of that stuff's nice, but also depends on which part of Japan you're in. But I do kind of hate the feeling like a ghost sort of thing. But I notice it more in Tokyo. Like, when I go to Osaka, people are much nicer. But in Tokyo, especially if you've probably noticed this, if you go out to eat or something with someone who speaks Japanese or is Japanese, the waiter doesn't look at you. Like, they don't address you at all. Mm-hmm. You're kind of the ghost. But like in America, even people who are rude, they still look at you, maybe with disdain, but like they look at you. And so I would almost trade in like the rude look for no look. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But again, it depends on where you go, but there's way more positive things I could say than negative. But as I've been here this time, every trip I go for a month, and I've been here a month, and I do miss like random conversations with people and stuff. Right. Granted, there's a language barrier, and it's not really as like cut and dry as that. But yeah, if I had to sum it up, it's sometimes if you're here for long enough, you do kind of feel like a ghost. And the romanticized version of Japan that you see in YouTube of everyone being so nice and friendly is not exactly true. Like, everyone's super polite, but that's not the same as friendly. Those are very different things. There are lots of friendly people too, but some people are polite and you can tell they don't like you.
Yes. You know what really grinds my gears? Nihongo jouzu desu ne. You know when they say your Japanese is really good?
You can say like, konnichiwa and like sumimasen. And yeah, you're so good at Japanese. It's like, no, I'm fucking not.
Well, I mean,
not at all.
The thing about that phrase that I never really liked, and you should tell me if I'm wrong about this, Lane, but like, it kind of reinforces the fact that you are other. Like, oh wow, like good doggy. Like, you're not supposed to know how to do that. Like,
Well, I mean, the funniest story I have with that is, God, this would have been back in like 2018 or something.
Yeah.
But I was hanging out with this guy who is, he's Japanese, but he grew up in America. Like, I think he was born in Japan, but then from the ages of 6, the rest of his life was in America. And so his parents speak Japanese and stuff, but basically he's American. His Japanese is like the equivalent of like an elementary, not even, like, yeah, like elementary school kids Japanese and stuff. He can say the basic stuff, but like he can say all the basics really well. But we went out to a bar one time, and he was getting roasted for his Japanese, and I was getting complimented for mine. And at some point, I'm just like, dude, he speaks so much better than me. Like, why is he getting the roasting and I'm not? And I think partly because it's a bar, nice
standard.
atmosphere, we're all drunk. They're just honest, and they're like, well, he's Japanese. We have a higher expectation from him.
Sure.
right. I don't want to call that a mask off moment or anything, but it's.
But what's funny? I don't encounter this in America. Like, I live in Texas, right? So a lot of people speak Spanish. So like through osmosis, I've picked up like a certain amount of Spanish. But when I try to speak it, granted I can hold a basic conversation, people just laugh at me. So it's never like, oh, your Spanish is so good. It's a lose-lose situation, because if you try to do like the Spanish accent as a white guy, they laugh at you. They find it funny. If you talk like a pure white person and have no accent at all, they laugh at you. So, but they still appreciate that you're doing it. Like, it's friendly. It's not malicious or anything. But they're never like, oh, your Spanish is so good. It's always like, why are you copying our accent? It's funny. Or, oh, you sound so white. It's funny. So you really can't win. Like, I don't know. It depends on who I'm talking to, but a lot of times I just give up, and I actually switch both. Sometimes I actually try to sound like I know what I'm doing, and other times I just say it like super white, because it's like if I'm ordering food or something. And either way you get laughed at, it doesn't really make a difference.
It's interesting how the Spanish are like that and the Japanese are also a bit more exclusive. I know the French kind of get a bad rep for this, but if you try to speak French with a proper accent and you get it right, they usually be like, oh, nice, good job.
I think the thing there, though, is that getting it right is so hard, and you are linguistically talented. You're you're just born, like that was one of your blessings, Like we all get different blessings in life. One of yours is just linguistic, like it comes natural to you. Your experience of French will be very different. I think a lot of people who study French for a long time, but they just never get the pronunciation right.
That is true. Okay, fine. I mean, look, I'm not. You always bring that up. You're like, shut up, dude. You're good at languages.
No, but for me, it's a struggle. Like, and that's why I've gotten to a point with Japanese for myself where, like, I got to like upper intermediate. At my peak, I was probably like advanced, lower advanced, and then it's gone down a bit because it's kind of atrophied a bit. So now it's plateaued a bit at upper intermediate. If I wanted to put in the effort, I could get it back to the advanced and stuff and progress there. But it's been a lot of effort for me, and increasingly not fun. So that's why I just kind of like settled for a plateau, because it's just not fun, it's not rewarding, and the rewards are diminishing after a certain point. But like, for you, it just comes so naturally that why not get really good at it, because it's easy and it's fun for you.
Well, I was kind of telling you this earlier. It's like, a lot of people will ask me like, how do you learn languages, man? How do you do it? And I think the main ingredient is like, do you want to learn it? How much do you want it?
Well, that's true of everything, I suppose, but I would agree with what Lane is saying. Like, you come across as like, I do think it comes off like it's easier for you. And by no means have I spent a lot of time learning Japanese, probably like a year. And when it is frustrating sometimes when I try to practice and then they just talk back to me in English. Because it's like, I don't know if you appreciate what I'm doing or not. And like, I can still just order a coffee in English and you understand me. So like, what's the point? I'm not having any deep philosophical conversations here, and I'm probably many years away from that. So at what point is enough? I think like if you live here and you want a job here, it's great. But for all the people casually studying Japanese, I wouldn't say like it's pointless. But kind of. I mean, like, after being here for 4 months, I see less of a point than when I was here for 1 week.
I see.
And it's hard to explain, but maybe you guys would understand because you've been here a lot longer than me. But 4 months, is still basically a tourist, just a glorified one. Like I've traveled the country quite a bit, And only when I'm in like the middle of nowhere and in weird places do they actually appreciate my effort. If I'm in Tokyo, again, you're a ghost. Like, people don't really care. But when I go like far into the country, or like when I was in like Onomichi or something, and you try to speak some basic Japanese, people are surprised. Because you're a bit more rare as a foreigner. Here it's like, not that you're a burden or anything, but there's no way to separate you as a good foreigner or a bad foreigner. And just because you know a few sentences means basically nothing.
Did you want to say anything, or?
No, I mean, Sam's on point there with, like, in the countryside, like, before I moved back to Tokyo, I was in Morioka, Iwate Prefecture for 2 years, and there, like, you need to know Japanese to live there, because, like, nobody knows English there. And again, as an English teacher there, having done that there, I could tell you that the standards are non-existent. Like, not even low, like non-existent. So if you're going to go around there, but in Tokyo, yeah, and it does get to you too. Like, that's kind of the reason why I mentioned before that I've just kind of settled with plateauing in the language, because just what do I want to use the language for? I could basically do everything I want to do 95% of the time with my ability, and that extra 5% that where I am like, oh man, if only my Japanese is better, it's not enough to justify the effort that would go into it. And to give reference, I think the perfect reference point to show how talented you are and how natural it comes to you, as opposed to me, where I think it's fair to say I'm more like a normal person with languages who just studied it and got to a point where I'm conversationally fluent, is when I first, like, when we met, like, one of your Japanese friends. That was the first time where we all just had to use Japanese as a common language because he didn't know any English. And so that was the first time hearing you use Japanese. And you said you'd been, like, living here up until that point for 2 years. And you said you might have studied it for a year in college. But basically, you've been studying it for, like, let's count the year in college as, like, half a year and then 2 years here. You've been studying it for 2.5 years. You were at a slightly higher level than me at 2.5 years than what I did in over 5 years.
Hey man, I mean, you trying to get a free drink?
I wouldn't say no, but I was also being completely honest too.
I also have another side tangent.
Go for it.
You know, when I'm in Japan, I drink a lot more than when I'm at home because it's fun and it's just everyone does it. The moment I start drinking and I'm a few beers in, I like forget so much of what I've learned, and I just end up embarrassing myself because I say something stupid. And I do the same thing with Spanish too. Even not that long ago, like, I was somewhere with my girlfriend and I was trying to speak Spanish, but I was pretty drunk, and I introduced her as like, oh, like es mi hija, which I said like it's my daughter, but I meant novia, which is like, this is my girlfriend. But I was drunk and I was like, this is my daughter, and the Spanish people look at me like, what the fuck, like what you know? And then but of course this is like very obvious to me normally, like when I'm sober, and I just completely bombed it. And then, like, I think I do the same thing in Japanese but worse. Like, I just switch words all the time, and then it's like, if I'm gonna be drinking when I'm here all the time, it really just goes out the window, everything I know.
No, I will say that a lot of my any Japanese, like, conversation fluency I got has basically been through a phase where I went through where I would just go to izakayas and just, like, talk to people. But there's a threshold where, like, 1 beer, maybe 2 beers, your Japanese improves. Because you just lose it. You're not so concerned about, like, am I making this mistake or not? You're just talking. But there does get a point where it goes down.
Yeah.
It goes up for a bit, but then it goes down. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, really the only thing I'll say is, I know you're saying that I have an ease with languages, and look, thank you for the compliment, man. Like, I feel like it's almost unearned of the way that people talk to me about it sometimes, because really, I look at English and the words that we use every day, and spoken language is not as complicated as you think it is. And
well, humble is in your name, so I mean.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's just, you have to, if you think of it as fun and that you can do it and then you can learn it and just create like a regimen, like give yourself a year or two and it'll slowly come naturally. But that could be a video for another time.
I think it's fun when you get it right, But when you're on the cusp of like always worrying about what you say, it's pretty anxiety inducing
Yeah.
to like try to talk to strangers. Also, you know, you can have shields, like people who do speak the language around you, friends, someone who knows a little bit of English. Like these things are all good cushions. When you're completely flying solo, which I've done for months at a time in this country, it's actually pretty intimidating because like, again, there's no one to correct my mistake. So my mistake, and a lot of times they're just too polite to correct me anyway. So they just kind of nod like, okay, but you can see that look on their eyes, like they don't know what I'm saying. Like I can just read it on their face. And this has happened to me 100 times, but you know, I still do it anyway. I mean, I'm extroverted enough that I'll push through it, but I think if you're a more introverted person and your language level is like a 1 or 2 like me, it's pretty gonna be rough. Like it's gonna be a bit anxiety inducing to go into places by yourself and try to have a conversation or even order drinks or something you're pretty confident in. Is like it can be difficult.
Yeah, I will say too is like, you know, it just reminds me of high school, and I went to you know, academically selective high school, and obviously there's a bit of a skew of favoritism towards STEM, just that's the trend now, or it's been the trend for a while now. But you know, like I just could never be bothered really to seriously study math and science subjects, and like some of my friends would be like, dude, you're not dumb, and like I would get the best grades in all the subjects that were non-STEM. I would get the best grades, and they were like, you're not dumb, why do you getting D's and like sometimes even F's in like math and science? I'm like, I just can't be bothered to study it. It's just like no interest to me. I think I'm just a natural born specialist. I have like something that like I like to get autistically focused on. I just can't be bothered with things outside of it. And I just think that's just how some people are. Some people are like jack of all trades types. And some people are natural born specialists. And even then, it's like, you know, for a particular thing. But like, you know, I've heard you talk about linguistics. Like you relish talks about linguistics. That puts me to sleep. Hence why I rarely actually hear you talk about it. But like, I know you enjoy it. It puts me to sleep the same way that listening to like somebody talk about organic chemistry puts me to sleep too. So.
Well, there really is no reason to talk about it because I know it puts people to sleep.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's part of the enjoy. Like you're saying, to get good at languages, it helps if you enjoy it. But that's part of the enjoyment process. Like you naturally enjoy the boring stuff. Whereas like for me, I dread the boring stuff. Like yeah, the fun stuff is like, you know, you're single and you're talking to a cute girl in the other language. That's the fun stuff, and that's the stuff that motivates you to do it. But then like a good part of the effort to do the practice side is, you know, doing the boring stuff. And if you naturally enjoy the boring stuff, you're going to grind it much faster.
Guess what I'll say about that is when you read a book, for example, it's like you become that person for a period, right? You are thinking with that person's writing. And I kind of look at languages as like you are becoming that culture to a certain degree. You are wearing it. Maybe you don't become it 100%, but like in using the language and getting it right and understanding podcasts and literature, there's some level of like cultural experience that you get from that, which enriches your normal experience in your first language. And I feel, yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think you're probably better at immersion. I mean, also, you know, you live here, but you've said you learn languages when you don't live there. But I think for most people, like, immersion is super important, but no one really does that. And so if you're not in a place where you can immerse yourself or engage in the language a lot, it's almost impossible to learn.
Yeah.
And so unless you have some proclivity for it, I mean, which, you know, maybe you do, but I think to most people listening or watching, it's hard to explain because, again, I grew up in a place where Spanish is the second language, and I'm still, like, not great at it, but I never studied it. It was just enough to, like, learn from osmosis. But you seem to pick up on things a lot easier than that, but I don't think most people do. I think you do have to enjoy it, and I always relate everything back to music because I know so many people, like maybe even lots of people watching or listening, like everyone knows or has a friend that has a guitar in their room, right? They can't fucking play at all. It's the same thing. It's like you romanticize the idea, it sounds fun, it looks cool in your head, but in practice, like you have to enjoy doing it, which is why when I taught lessons, I would always say picking up a guitar should feel like picking up a spoon. If it doesn't, you're doing it wrong. You're not practicing enough. I think if you're trying to learn a language, you should be able to think in that language. If you can't think in that language, then you're probably not immersed enough. And so maybe you could answer that question better, like, do you feel like you are capable of thinking in another language?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's you guys are both like Yeah, man, I almost feel uncomfortable in a way because, like, I guess I'll admit that there is something about the way that I think about languages that could be different, but like the love for it is just it's connecting with different people who are incredibly like who have nothing to do with what you grew up with, and I always wanted to escape my house. I wanted to see what was outside in the world, and coming from like a like Milwaukee, there's nothing really there, and so like I wanted to just not be around that. So the immersion, it's like, okay, I'm rejecting everything that I was always around as a kid. I'm kind of becoming like not even a new person, but there's gonna be something here that adds to my own personal development.
Well, then I suppose the difference with you is you are immersed even in your own head. And I think that's probably the difference between you and many other people.
Could be.
Most people need physical immersion, and even then they're going to retreat constantly back to what's comfortable. And everyone does it, I think. I think it's natural to do that.
Well,
but if you can immerse yourself in your own brain, then, you might be, naturally kind of introverted, and that's easier for you than other people.
well, I guess that it's like a weird paradox, and I'll say like one little anecdote. It's just like the other day I was going out to a Japanese bar, and I heard like some people speaking French in the bar, and I'm like, oh, I hear the French tourists, and I'm like, well, I'm in the mood to just grab myself a drink anyway, so I sat myself down at the bar, and I talked to them for a little bit, and they were so surprised and nice to me that after we got our drink, like I got three free drinks, and they took me out to a Japanese izakaya, and they're like, oh, it's really nice to, meet somebody here who can, tell us about the culture and yada yada yada.
The same thing happened to me with Spanish here,
Oh, great.
where they don't speak English, but they speak Spanish, and they don't really understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not great at it, but I can ask them basic questions or guide them to some degree in Spanish, and they're just so happy that like they encountered the 1 in 1,000 here that can actually have some basic conversation with them.
I mean, I haven't heard you speak Spanish, Sam, but I imagine you're definitely underestimating yourself.
It's
and you too,
embarrassing.
Lynn. Like, I've heard you speak Japanese, and you speak fine. Like, I really don't hear, like, the issue. I think it's more just, like, I don't know. The linguistics part puts you to sleep, and that is probably the main issue, which...
Well, I mean, for a lot of it for me is I hate not knowing stuff. And so, like, one of my main reasons for learning Japanese, or especially early on, was I just wanted to read, like, untranslated visual novels. But it was so frustrating doing it because a lot of people's advice is, dude, just immerse yourself in it. And if you don't understand something, that's okay. Just keep going. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay if I'm not understanding what's going on in the story. Because again, I'm kind of these, like, especially when it comes to stories and stuff, like, I loved English literature class. I loved hyperanalyzing all the different intricacies of a sentence and how this applies to plot points and all that. Like, that's the stuff that puts other people to sleep that I artistically relished. And so when somebody's telling me, yeah, it's okay if you don't understand this detail in the story, I'm like, no, it's not okay that I don't get it.
I agree with you. I feel very neurotic about things. Like, I like to know everything. And if I'm having a hard time with something, like, both things is true. Like, I'm an impatient perfectionist. And so, like,
That's a great description for it. Yeah, an impatient perfectionist.
If it doesn't come quickly or naturally, I get kind of frustrated. And I don't mean in any sort of bragging way, but I do have things that come quickly to me. Language is not one of them. And so for me, it was always music. Music came pretty naturally to me, so I didn't have to try super hard. I was pretty good in school, and I skipped a lot of school, and I was high all the time. So, like, I'm not really sure how that works, but, like, it was enough to, like, I felt, like, fine doing it. But with language, it's, like, everything is frustrating. And so it doesn't click as quickly. Now, if I lived here and I was trying to work here and I was around all the time, sure. But I was more motivated to learn Japanese, like I said, after being here the first month, the first trip. And then after, like, months and months, I'm like, shit, I don't know. Like, how much do I really care? Does it even affect me that much? I'm not sure. Like, I can read hiragana, katakana, so, like, I can read basic things, but at the same time, it's not helpful. Like, I can read Coin Locker, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you can see that in the video, but there's a Coin Locker over there. But it's pretty obvious what it is. So is it helpful? Like, not really.
I mean, look, I will say you're a brilliant producer, man. Like, your music is great, and what I've heard you do. So
I'll take that.
I'll definitely speak to that. And you're Mr. I can read something and talk about it like I wrote it in God knows how much time. And I read like one book on philosophy, and like even 3 days later I'm like, what was it again? Why did I read that? I have to like read it over and over and over again for it to stick, and it just seems like abstract information just sticks in your brain a lot more quickly. And me, it's just like the words themselves are very easy for me to remember. It's when you start putting them into big sentences and describing ideas that that the ADHD starts fight me a lot more. So like everyone has their thing. Everyone has their thing. I didn't ask for the language thing. Honestly, if I could choose something else, I would.
I think what's important to tell, if there is someone listening that doesn't know what their thing is, you do have a thing. It is something. Maybe you just haven't found it yet. But
Yes.
keep trying new things, and whatever clicks is what should work. You shouldn't always listen to your teachers and parents and stuff. Maybe deep down you know, but if you don't know,
Yeah.
like you have something.
Even DBDR found his thing.
That's true.
What, being an asshole?
You know, just said everyone has a thing.
He wasn't really an asshole. It was more like people around him. Like this guy was like cursed, but I don't know. Like he was a good storyteller. Like I think that's his thing. His thing was he's a good storyteller. I don't know how his music is like because it's not the kind of music I listen to. He seems to be okay, but with music, and he enjoys it, so that's good. At the very least, it's a hobby for him. But he's a good storyteller. That's his thing, and he just threw that away for whatever reason. I don't know why, but like he's a great storyteller. That's what he had going for him.
I suppose that's true, and that is a talent in and of itself. I mean, we all like good storytellers. A lot of times, comedians, people that are funny. Like that's how we evolved throughout history, was through stories, right? The reading books and printing press is like a blip in history. It's relatively new. Like only rich people had books up until like a couple hundred years ago. And so, yeah, storytelling is a very valuable skill, but I do think that guy wallows in his own misery a bit.
Yeah.
You might be more sympathetic than me.
Dude, his life sucks.
He's like those.
I think he asked for it.
Yeah. I never watched his videos more than like...
Although, I mean, like, when we found out the whole, like, Kleinfelters thing and that's, or whatever it's called, like, I mean, this guy does have, like, it's not easy.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well... I don't really know.
I know, we got on a weird tangent there.
You guys want to go for another cold one?
Sure.
Yeah, we can end here.
Yeah, we'll go to the bathroom and party there.
Alright, Scrutly Motley.